morning, everyone, or good afternoon for those who are joining us from Central Asia, and good morning to everyone from Germany and beyond. We are very grateful to invite you to the Silk Road of Knowledge Conference of the German Kazakh University, which we start today. Actually, we started yesterday already with some pre-conference events, but we really officially start today, and we go ahead for 3 days. We very much welcome you, and we are thankful that you took time to join us for this event. Let me start with something strong. Probably you might have heard that the World Meteorological Organization has announced this week that the level of CO2 are at record level, and despite the COVID lockdown. It's not a good news, but this is the reason why we are today speaking about climate change. Being in the situation of COVID, we know that it has also immense impact on our life, both the health security, but also the climate security. However, sometimes our attention is being diverted out of this because media is more now, for the good reason, discussing the issues of COVID. But let's be disturbed, and we have to remember that especially regions like Central Asia are at the hotspot of climate change and of the climate impact. And today we are not speaking only about the climate. We are speaking about the fact that there must be an education process, a research process, first of all, and the information must come from universities and research institutions about this situation and the impact of climate upon all the areas of our life, of economy, of social, on environmental issues. And this is going to be the topic of our conference these days, so I very much welcome you to this. Let me also mention that this conference is organized in the framework of so-called Green Central Asia, which is a process, which is a program supported and hosted by the Foreign Office of Germany, having partners here in Central Asia on the ground and of course in Germany. So as I mentioned, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and also GIZ and also Potsdam Institute for Climate Change, Geoforschungszentrum, Geoscience Center in Potsdam, also Martin-Luther-Universität in Halle, and the German Kazakh University. Having said that, I think this is the good time to ask for a welcome speech our distinguished participants who agreed to make the opening as a hosts. So on behalf of the German Kazakh University, I would like to invite Dr. Gabriele Stauner, the president of the university, for the welcome speech.
So, good morning from my side, dear participants of the conference and ladies and gentlemen. As president of the German Kazakh University, I am honored to welcome you to the second day of the scientific and practical online conference Silk Road of Knowledge. I'm glad to welcome especially Mr. Henrik Tölken, Director for Climate and Energy Policy and Digital from the German Foreign Ministry in Berlin, Mr. Henrik Mörs, Project Management Agency, DLR, International Bureau on behalf of the German Education and Science Ministry, and Dr. Caroline Milo from the GIZ. And of course, the ladies from our university, Mrs. Janusz Pawleta and Mahabu Yodalieva, who are in the functions of the chairpersons today. Of course, also a very warm welcome to all the other participants of this conference. Some of you may have already taken part in yesterday's pre-conference, and I hope you enjoyed the virtual meeting and got some new impressions. I'm glad that I had the chance to get an insight in yesterday's speeches, and what I heard gives me confidence that the conference will compile concrete recommendations and political advices. You got some thought-provoking impulses, and maybe the brainstorming from yesterday will help to deal with the topics on the agenda of today and led to smart conclusions at the end of the conference on Friday. At this point, I want to mention some of the most important topics the conference is dealing with today and throughout the following days. The impact of climate change, especially in Central Asia, and the management of water resources, and the new obstacles we have to face because of the current worldwide situation with COVID-19 shows us, unfortunately, the vulnerability of our existing ecosystems, and this becomes obvious more and more every day. The conference brings together specialists from Asia and Europe to give them the possibility to discuss the status quo and get prepared for future challenges. We would be glad if the conference could agree on certain recommendations to implement in policy and economics. The German Kazakh University wants to contribute to a sustainable development in the Central Asia region with its bachelor and master program in the sector of engineering, IT, logistics, and mobility. An essential part of it contains natural resources like water, energy, and land management. One of the most important goals we want to achieve during this conference is sharing our knowledge and our experience on the basis of the Berlin Process 2009 to 2019 and the Green Central Asia, a regional initiative on climate and security in Central Asia and Afghanistan, launched by the German Foreign Ministry in the beginning of 2020. Special attention has to be paid to the question on how regional cooperation can help solve climate-related challenges in Central Asia. Dear participants, I wish you inspiring discussions. I hope for new ideas and a successful input to the solution of the difficult environmental problems we all face in Central Asia and in other parts of the world as well. Thank you and have a great time.
Thank you very much, dear Ms. Stauner. Indeed, for our university, it's a very important topic, the overarching idea of the climate change towards all the areas which you have mentioned, which will be tackled throughout the conference. Thank you for the welcoming words. And now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Hinrich Tölken, Director for Climate, Energy Policy and Digitalization of the German Foreign Ministry. Mr. Tölken.
Thank you, Dr. Janusz Pawleta and Dr. Stauner, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants. It's a great pleasure to me to speak at the opening of the Silk Road of Knowledge Conference, and I think it's a great and very fitting title. A very warm welcome here from Berlin. Also, congratulations to the Kazakh German University and to all partners on such a rich and inspiring agenda. And I'm especially happy to speak here today because I have visited the German Kazakh University a couple of times already in my previous positions. I'm very happy to be back here. Ladies and gentlemen, sharing knowledge and cooperation on science across borders is more vital than ever. The world is still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and our everyday life has changed a lot since the beginning of this new era. The pandemic is a challenge for the international community, for our countries, for our societies, and of course also for our economies. What we have learned in the crisis is to make better use of digital technologies and of science in general. And today's conference is a very good example of our learning curve. The spirit that the international research community has shown in the search for a vaccine against COVID-19 is unprecedented. Just look at the transatlantic cooperation between the German company BioNTech and the American company Pfizer, which is a true success story and led to a very successful vaccine against COVID-19. Scientific cooperation and scientific evidence is needed more than ever to tackle global challenges, to provide factual information and to build bridges, especially in times when some countries do no longer believe in the multilateral order. It is in this spirit that Germany, together with the 5 Central Asian states and Afghanistan, has launched a regional approach to foster cooperation on the impacts of climate change. This is the Green Central Asia process that has already been mentioned. I personally see Green Central Asia as a prime example of a very fruitful cooperation between science and diplomacy. And I'm very happy that the Kazakh German University is among the partners of this initiative. With Green Central Asia, we focus on the security challenges that arise from climate change. The initiative is part of our preventive and stabilizing foreign policy. Climate change poses a growing security risk in Central Asia and in Afghanistan. The warming trends in these countries are much faster than the global average, and the effects are already palpable everywhere. Hydrological extremes are only one example. Glaciers have the crucial function of being water storages, but they are retreating. We also see the dire consequences of unsustainable resource exploitation in the region. We want to understand more precisely how climate change and the nexus between water, food, and energy will impact Central Asia and Afghanistan. Uncertainties can increase political tensions, so we want to get rid of these uncertainties. And this is why we are now deliberating with our partner countries on which dimensions of climate and security we want to focus our cooperation in the coming years. We are working towards a joint action plan, which will contain the details of our joint effort. Climate adaptation, water cooperation, and regional integration could be among those topics. And as climate adaptation and decarbonization of energy systems are closely linked, what is also reflected in your panels today, we are looking forward to cooperate further and closer on renewable energy with German Kazakh University, Kazakhstan, and also in the regional context. So it is my pleasure to announce that the newly created multimedia exhibition on energy transition, which will go on a global tour next year, will also make a stop here at the DKU, the German Kazakh University, where a new hub for renewable energy studies is in the making. Green Central Asia promotes continued high-level political dialogue, as well as projects for scientific cooperation on the issues of climate and security. The initiative is a German contribution to the new EU Central Asia strategy, which was launched in 2019, and also ties in with the EU Asia connectivity strategy. Germany fully supports the fundamental goals of the EU dialogue with Central Asia. These include encouraging the regional cooperation, promoting sustainable growth and welfare, as well as enhancing resilience against internal and external shocks. The last point is of enormous importance given the social and economic stress caused by COVID-19, but also with regard to the impacts of climate change. Germany and the EU wish to remain involved in Central Asia as a strong, trusted partner in the long run. It is our determination to assist the region on its way towards more stability, economic welfare, sustainable development, and social justice. Such a partnership, without any hidden agenda, may be of particular benefit for the Central Asian countries which strive to balance out their deepening dependency on foreign debt and the growing rivalry of powerful regional and international actors. As EU Council presidency, Germany puts every effort to bring the Central Asia strategy forward. Green Central Asia is our biggest contribution to this strategy. Another one is a study that looks at the question how the strategy could benefit young people in Central Asia in developing educational and professional perspectives at home in the region, instead of migrating to neighboring countries. I invite you all to contribute to filling the EU Central Asia strategy with life and to further strengthen our mutual ties and our close partnership. In this sense, you can all contribute to creating a Silk Road of knowledge, which should not be a one-way road, but a multi-way road. I wish you all a very successful conference, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Turken. I can, of course, not just avoid to say what a pleasure it was many years ago as we welcomed you at our university. I think it was 2012, as we were having big visions for Central Asia and for water and climate and renewable energies and beyond. And through this, as you said, no one-way road, but just the exchange, it's becoming more and more possible, especially thanks to the Green Central Asia program. Thank you once again. And now I would like to give the floor to our partner and also good colleagues, Dr. Henrik Meurs, project manager of the agency of DLR, International Bureau, on behalf of the German Ministry of Education and Science. Seems that we have a little bit of a problem. I'm sorry for that. So maybe we will welcome now Ms. Caroline Milo from the GIZ with the short overview of the Green Central Asia Initiative.
So good morning to everyone from Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I'm very happy to have the opportunity to speak to you today. This event is an important contribution to the creation of a dialogue platform in the frame of the Green Central Asia Initiative of the German Federal Foreign Office, and will help us all to exchange experience, lessons learned, and best practices on climate research in different sectors, ranging from climate impact assessment, water, agriculture, to transport and decarbonizing the energy sector. Your scientific input is of great importance for finding sustainable solutions for our life on this planet, and your knowledge and research will hopefully find its way into the political decision-making process in the Central Asia region. Ambassador Tölken has already given an overview of the German engagement on climate and security and mentioned the new initiative Green Central Asia. If you permit, I would like to give you some more detailed information on what we are planning to do in the next 3 years and with whom. The Green Central Asia Initiative is implemented by 4 organizations in close coordination with the Foreign Office in Berlin: the German International Cooperation GIZ, the German Research Center for Geosciences in Potsdam, together with the University of Halle-Wittenberg, the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research, and today we know all with the German Kazakh University in Almaty in Kazakhstan. You will have the pleasure of meeting my colleagues in the sessions to come over the next 3 days, and especially Barbara, the team leader for our DKU partners you have already seen and welcomed, and we are very happy to cooperate together after the Berlin process, where over 10 years we were already working very closely with each other. The former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon once said, "Climate change, demographics, water, food, energy, global health, women's empowerment, these issues are all intertwined. We cannot look at one strand in isolation. Instead, we must examine how these strands are woven together." Green Central Asia will provide a dialogue platform to do exactly that. We want to build on the achievements of the Berlin process on transboundary water management in Central Asia and broaden the scope, not only geographically by inviting Afghanistan, but also thematically. As described in the joint declaration signed at the Berlin conference on 28th of January by the Central Asian foreign ministers and the German foreign minister, topics will comprise environmental protection, mitigation of negative impacts of the Aral Sea crisis, water, renewable energy and energy efficiency, glacier protection, biodiversity, afforestation, combating desertification, land management, and sustainable agriculture. At the same time, we would like to support to broaden cooperation on existing international environment instruments, such as the Industrial Accidents Convention, the Air Convention, the Water Convention, and the Protocol on Water and Health, Aarhus Convention, and the ESPO Convention on environmental impact assessment. The Green Central Asia Initiative understands itself as a forum that wants to complement, not duplicate, already existing fora and instruments, such as the EU national policy dialogues, the EU Central Asia Environmental Governance and Climate Change Working Group, the UN Special Program for the Economies of Central Asia, the Environmental Performance Reviews, or the Blue Peace Initiative of the Swiss government. To this end, we are closely cooperating with the European Union and in support to the EU Central Asia strategy with the UNECE and its environmental instruments, SDC, CAREC, IUCN, and other interested organizations. Meaningful dialogue has to be informed and scientifically backed up, and this is where the partner organizations mentioned before come in. There is a wealth of experience, expertise, and tools available, some already jointly developed in the frame of the Berlin process that we want to develop further to the benefit of science, academia, and politics in Central Asia. We are offering policy advice and strengthening of already existing capacities in the following sectors and fields: quantification of water resources, such as operational and automated snow cover monitoring using satellite data and applying the ModSnow tool that is already in use by some partner organizations, such as the basin water organizations Amudaya and Surdaya. Our colleagues from the Geoscience Center in Potsdam, who are taking part in this conference, will tell you more about this. We're also looking into water availability projections in selected river basins under climate change impacts until the end of the century. This is something our colleagues from the PIC, the Potsdam International Climate Institute, are taking care of. Support to national hydromet services and other stakeholders for the modernization of national hydrometeorological networks and analysis of projected trends in precipitation and temperature are also among the topics, as well as digitalization and optimized land and water use in the irrigation sector. Here again, we are going back to tools, Rüemoka tool, that you will hear about, I'm pretty sure, from Professor Konrad from the University of Halle-Wittenberg. And last but not least, the analysis of climate impacts on crop yields and crop suitability. And our climate expert, Dr. Anastasia Lobanova of the PIC, will update you on these topics. For all events, the project will work with the media, do public relations, and reach out to raise public awareness. The outreach of Green Central Asia will be defined within the communication plan that is updated on a yearly basis. Classic methods such as policy briefs and information sheets will be created, but also social media such as our website, Facebook or Twitter will be used. Central Asian partner organizations can be supported in their outreach. As a first step, we want to, as agreed in the joint declaration in Berlin and as Ambassador Tölken already mentioned, elaborate an action plan with the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and relevant stakeholders. The first round of talks with a collection of national and regional priority issues has already started. The effects of climate change in Central Asia are already being felt and will only increase. Recent climate trends and fluctuations in Central Asia are generally characterized by rising surface air temperatures since the end of the 19th century. Climate data indicate a steady warming trend in the entire region, which is already having a negative impact. Droughts, desertification, and water shortages are increasing. Environmental degradation is exacerbated by climate change and ultimately results in people losing their livelihoods and in economic losses, which can trigger instability. The Aral Sea Basin, with roughly 70 million inhabitants, is an important region of the world and has a wealth of different ecosystems, landscapes, flora, and fauna that are unique in the world and that have to be preserved for future generations. Environmental degradation and climate change do not know boundaries. Therefore, regional cooperation and communication within the political but also the scientific community is key to combating these challenges and working for a sustainable future. The Green Central Asia program stands ready to support these efforts in the region with all its partner organizations. Let me once again thank the German Kazakh University for organizing this important event. I wish you all a fruitful and interesting discussion, and I hope that we will come up with a number of recommendations that we then at a later stage can present in the political discussions on a regional level to come up with sustainable solutions for a prosperous future. Thank you very much for your attention and good luck for the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Carolina. Thank you for this overview of the goals and of the program itself. I think it's a good introduction exactly to the conference, just to say that again, COVID and all the recovery plans which we have to introduce to our countries in Europe, in Central Asia, worldwide, they are not only about the growth. They need a holistic to take a holistic view to really achieve the sustainable development goals. And I really believe that revitalizing after the post-COVID situation, it should be based on the sustainability and including repairing the nature. And this is what we are going to talk about in our conference: how to introduce new ideas, how to see adaptation and mitigation of the climate change in Central Asia, how to look at the land use, at the water resources, how to think about the sustainability in terms of the transport routes, of the regional cooperation, all of this to make sure that the adaptation and mitigation of the climate is the reality in Central Asia, because this is so much needed, and it will really contribute to the regional cooperation and development. Here, if you allow, I will try to briefly introduce to you a very long agenda, the 3 days agenda or 3.5 days agenda. You can see that yesterday we already met with young researchers who, especially in special session, they were presenting their records on the issues related to climate mitigation and adaptation in Central Asia. We had a special poster session. It was envisaged for all researchers who we could not accommodate it into still the long agenda. So there were much more interested people to speak and to exchange, and this is indeed the reason of the conference itself. So we turned it into the poster session. The posters you can see on the website of the conference, so it still can be something which you can enjoy. And what was also very important to us and happened yesterday, it was a UNESCO family closed meeting, UNESCO family of Central Asia, because maybe some of you might also know that at the German Kazakh University, we have a UNESCO chair in water management in Central Asia, which allows us to connect throughout the region, but also beyond. We used to have Hans Strupp with us from the Jakarta office and Sarantuya Zaranira from headquarters in Paris. And we were discussing how to speak about water issues and strengthen the cooperation throughout the academic and scientific network in Central Asia. And this was the way how we ended up in today. Now we are at the opening of the conference on Wednesday. Today, and today we will be having 2 sessions. First session on climate change, and then second session related to water under the climate change. And here I would like to indeed go a little bit more into details to share with you that the climate impact devoted session is headed by together by our university and the PIC, the Potsdam Institute for Climate. Second session will be devoted to water and the climate change, and this one is hosted by us and with the Geoscience Center from Potsdam. Next day, we are already on Thursday with you on the agenda. And we will already again start with the youth session because there were so many youth contributions that we could not accommodate them just in one. So we are very happy about this because we strongly believe that there is a great importance to involve more of the innovative young perspectives into the research on the climate related issues in this way on water. And then the third session, the first session of tomorrow, will be devoted to land management and food security under climate change. And this one will be hosted by the Central Asia Sustainable Innovation Bureau. Afterwards, we will start with the session on potentials of digitalization for increasing sustainability in agriculture. This session is hosted by Martin Luther University from Halle. And next session of this day, the fifth session, is going to be devoted to regional cooperation, regional security issues related to climate and water. Day after, which will be the last day of the conference, we are going to have again 3 sessions. Session number 6 is devoted to infrastructure and logistics under the climate change. And this one will be hosted commonly with the Karek Institute of Asian Bank of Development. And the next session is going to be devoted to decarbonization of energy systems and climate neutrality, and will be co-hosted by the Freie Universität Berlin. So those are going to be sessions which we are offering to your attention, and we think that the audience who is going to join our conference will probably particularly select some sessions which are of their interest. But hopefully all again we come together to the closing session. The closing session will be on Friday at 4 p.m. our time here, at 11 o'clock of German time. In Germany, and we will be having a recap. We will be discussing with all the chairs of the sessions. We'll be coming up again with their conclusions, with their recommendations, because we strongly believe that there is a need to transfer the knowledge from the scientists towards the politicians, towards the people taking decisions in our name. So we have to help them to understand better the situation which is nowadays in the region related to the climate change, and to facilitate and to inform their decisions. So I believe that that this is a very important session for all of us. Having said that, I have shared with you a very general vision how we see the process, the flow of our conference. And as you see, there are many actors who are involved, and there are numbers of speakers. In each session, we are going to have 2 international speakers at least, and 2 speakers from Central Asia. Because again, we deeply believe that this exchange between Europe and global perspective and Central Asia can contribute to very successful dialogue. And we believe that it also will be a good contribution to the approach which was mentioned by Mr. Tölken of the Central Asia strategy of the European Union, and especially the Green Central Asia program of the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So this is our contribution from the side of science, and we very much warmly welcome you to join us. So this is the overall vision, how we are going to progress with you. And once again, we warmly welcome you to join us through all of those days. But it's not the end. We would like to introduce something a little bit more maybe interactive at the beginning. Because we have said a lot. I mean, there were a few speeches summarizing up, highlighting the really huge importance of this issue of climate change as we see it. As we see it, as we discuss it, we scientists, politicians, as also Mr. Tölken was saying, the implementing agencies like GIZ, Caroline was also mentioning, I think this is the many communities, many stakeholders are very much engaged into this process. But I think that it's a good question to ask ourselves, what does it really mean for Central Asia? The process of mitigation, climate change, process of adaptation to climate change. What does that really mean? And is it really so important? Because as it was already also slightly mentioned in the previous speeches, not everybody is convinced. So my idea would be just have a check whether all of us who are here participating today are really interested in thinking about this, that this is an important task and that we really have to take an effort. I was just giving some thoughts to this and was thinking climate change. Okay, maybe sometimes you say carbon sequestration, high technologies. We need all of them to make sure that, that we mitigate climate. But at the same time, let's just think about forests. Let's think about the forests, how big importance, how cheap, cheap solution should it be, natural solution to create not only like a mitigation impact effect, but also to think how to contribute to eradication of the even of the poverty, because many people in their households in the rural areas depend on forests. So this is just an example, but at the same time, we have to very much think about the transformation of the industrial, of the energy, of the transport system. All of this is extremely important, but this is on the side of mitigation. What about adaptation? Indeed, even in the previous, our focus with even with our program on in the master program on integrated water resource management in Central Asia, we were more focused on the integrated, obviously, approach, but not so much thinking about the broader perspective, the interdisciplinary, the climate approach. And really to solve one of any of these important issues, we really have to think in common, in nexus, as it was said before. So nowadays we are thinking, okay, so what would be the way of adaptation to climate change in Central Asia? What should be the way of new land management? What should be the new strategies to use, for example, agroforestry, right? With any good examples. Or let's maybe think about hydraulic constructions. Yes, that is very important, but at the same time, maybe we need to pay more attention to rain harvesting. And all of the simple solutions, when we think about, Carolina was mentioning that the Green Central Asia is also very much about to involve media, because it's not about media and becoming popular, it's becoming making the ideas popular and bringing them really to the audience, which are people in our countries, and they vote later on for the politicians and they vote for the economical programs, and they have to include climate change anyway. And one provocative idea could be also related to adaptation. Let's maybe discuss, like in United Kingdom, they discuss about tax on meat, because to produce meat, it takes a lot of water and any other resources, and this produces, this is an impact on the climate. But nevertheless, let's just think what you say. Let's just have a look what you say. And I would invite my co-chair, Marhabo Yudalieva, my colleague, to introduce a small exercise to you, just voting exercise.
Yes, dear participants, greetings once again to everyone. And yes, we would like to give you one just general question about how the region is taking the topic of climate change. And yeah, this would be nice to see how you think right now. And probably after this 3 days presentation of the session's topics, there may be some changes in your mindset. Maybe you will take this question, or you will answer to this question differently after all. We will just give you one general question, and there will be 2 minutes. There will be provided like several options to the questions, and I would kindly then ask you to select one of the options you think that is the right answer to the question. And then we see the overall results of this small poll. So here I'm starting it. The question will appear on your screen, and you have 2 minutes to choose, think about the question, and to choose the option you think is the right answer. I hope it has appeared. Yeah.
Do you have the English version of this also or not?
It is both in English and Russian. If you see, it starts with Russian, One question and immediately with the translation into English. And the answers are also both in Russian and English. Russian/English part of the answer. I hope you see it. Do you see it all? Just maybe you just write in chat plus so that I know that you already see my screen. Great. I see plus. That means that everyone sees it. So think about the question, and then we will show the overall results. So the question is, do the governments of the Central Asian countries have to take swift actions to tackle the impact of climate change? And the answers are yes. Climate change is a real threat to the environmental security of the region, of the Central Asian region. The second option, no. Central Asian countries are yet far from the impact of climate change. Third option is climate change is not that bad. Life will find a way. And the fourth option is Central Asian countries have far more urgent issues to tackle than climate change. So another 1 minute, and then I close the poll, and we will see the results of the vote or of the answers. Yeah. And I see that most of the participants are for the option 1. Yeah, that's quite good. Okay, less are for the third option. Second, they are going equally. We also see few people who are thinking of some other issues rather than focusing on climate change. And here I stop the poll, and then you will see the overall answer. So here, so you now see on your screen the answer. Most of the participants are voting for the option 1, which means that climate change is really a threat to the environmental security of the region, and that's and we as the representatives of this region who are living in this region shall take this topic serious and shall already come up with some mitigation and adaptation measures to at least pause the impact of the climate change. Yes. And maybe here I also ask my colleague Barbara also to lead a little bit of discussion with the participants on that.
Thank you very much indeed. You know, the interactivity in the time of online conferences is a little bit limited, but I think that this is anyway a little bit of sign that at least we have a special audience who is very much aware of the threat. But it comes on non-surprise indeed, because we are going to have the discussions, and I hope that our biggest achievement will be that those couple of percentage of people who voted that they are not so much sure of this answer, that they will change their mind after having listened to our sessions. So having this a little bit of interaction, I would like to once again, maybe in some way summarize, just to say that indeed we have met in the very particular time of COVID, and when we are thinking about how to overcome the crisis, what should be our recovery plans, how should we go ahead, and I think that I'm sure that all we think so, that education has a particular role to play on this, and education is based on science. So we met today with the scientists from many countries to discuss, to define the gaps which we see for today in the climate science, in the all related areas where climate has its strong impact. As we mentioned, on the resources, on infrastructure, also on the social economical life, and on the security. So in this sense, I believe that that we really cannot say today anymore that economical growth must come regardless any inequalities. Inequalities, this is a wrong system which was probably due to certain circumstances developing for the previous years. But today we see that the situation has to change. And the situation has been changing. We are working on the recovery plans. We are working on the nationally determined contributions of all the countries of Central Asia. And I believe that we can make our discussion also reach on this topic. I think that this is a good time to welcome you to the to welcome you to the next session. But before we do so, I would like to invite you for a moment. Hopefully, internet will allow that. Now I will share the floor with my colleagues from the first session. I will just very briefly introduce it. But since we have a couple of minutes, I would just they will be just, so to say, collecting each other, and we can have a small break, health break, as we call it now. And I would like to transfer the floor to my colleagues from PIC Institute, from the Potsdam Institute for Climate, and Dr. Anastasia Lobanova, and my colleague Larisa Kogutienko from the German Kazakh University, who are going to co-chair this session with Yuri Dovets. So they will be three of them chairing the session, which will start in 10 minutes. And we'll discuss the issues of the climate impact assessment. Dear participants, thank you very much for joining us today. I think that we will have a chance to interact with each other throughout these days. And we are going to have now the opportunity to exchange and to make references, to make the recommendations for our policymakers who are listening to us these days. And if they don't listen today, we certainly will share with them the idea in writing. And we hope that Green Central Asia will offer indeed the platform to bring our ideas forward. So on this note, I would like to close the opening and thanks all the speakers once again and invite you to the session number 1. Thank you very much.